Hi, my name is Sam Jenkins. Today I'm with two Political Storm contributors, Conservative Analysis, aka Esteban, and Politics Done Right with Egberto Willies. Today we'll be discussing immigration, one of the most divisive issues of our time. So first question I'll pose to Egberto, and that is, do you think the Statue of Liberty is an empty symbol or a symbol that is backed up with welcoming immigration policies?
At this point in time with the Trump administration, the Statue of Liberty means absolutely nothing. But that said, I think it's important for us to realize that this country is a country of immigrants, and there's nothing Donald Trump or anybody on the right can do to stop what this country is, was, or has been. Because we have to remember one very important fact. The settlers of this country were not born of this country. They came in, and we also have to remember they came in without permission. So therefore, by history, this country is a place of immigrants, and it's not going to change. Not even Donald Trump can do
that. Esteban, you would like to respond?
Yeah, I would. Well, actually, I think that the comparison is a little bit off. So first of all, when the refugees from Europe first came to leave religious persecution, they came to a place and they didn't start conflict right away. And I'm not saying that immigrants do either, obviously. But what I am saying is that there was no set country right in the United States. So in the Americas, what the native population did is that they survived and sustained themselves off the land. They didn't really see this as a country of borders or rule of law. Now we are a country and we do have rule of law. So it's not the comparison axiomatically cannot be analogous. However, I do accept your premise that we are a nation of immigrants. So you'll actually probably be surprised by my moderation on this issue. I do believe that we all ought to welcome legal immigration. I think that illegal immigration is where most of the trouble comes from. But again, I am actually a moderate conservative on this issue. And I do agree with the premise that we are and continue to be a nation of immigrants. But again, with the Statue of Liberty, what we have to realize is that the Statue of Liberty wasn't born with a conception of this nation. The Statue of Liberty and whatever was written on it is not necessarily even relevant to the founding principles of this country either. I think immigration in any mass form is dangerous, and we have to look at that from a realistic standpoint.
I think there's an important thing that I need to address. I hope to the moderator, if I may, from something that he said. And that is that notice what my friend Esteban had to say. He said before the settlers, and he called them refugees, came to the country. And by the way, much of the current immigrants that are coming in from El Salvador, by the way, I'm originally from Panama, so I know the history of that area. So most of the people that are coming in from this part of the world are being persecuted. They're coming in for their own, because same type of the pilgrims came as well. We also have to remember that a lot of the problems that are there were instantiated by U.S. policy in that part of the world. But forgetting about that, going back to the pilgrims, it is important to remember what Esteban just said. At the point that the pilgrims came into this country, there was no settled law. What he really meant is there was no settled Western law. The people that were on this land had their structure of what government and humanity looked like. They believed not in owning territory. They believed not in coming and say, I command this territory for the queen, or I command this territory for us. They had a completely different concept. What Esteban is actually saying is that it is okay for a foreign people to come into a new land that had its own establishment of how they operated, not by Western laws, but by the way and the care that they took for land, the care that they took for all these other issues, and called it their own in that regards. What the Europeans came here and did is they turned that on its head and said, we will conquer. The others did not conquer. They came to conquer.
Well, actually, I'll have to point out that I never said it was okay. So, I mean, I do think that what we did with the native population was quite unfortunate. I think that when I'm saying we, I'm just saying the United States history.
I understand.
Okay, because I personally, technically speaking, I'm from Mexico, and most people from Mexico are Native Americans. indigenous, right? So that's most of my genetics, I would think. But what the United States has done, I'd never ever excuse what the United States has done. However, you're appealing to my dislike of what they've done. So it's weird that you would say that what the immigrants or what the refugees from Europe did was wrong, and you're trying to make that into a comparison of what the current immigration system is doing right now. So anyway, but going back a little bit further, you did mention that the United States had involvement in you said you're from Panama, and I presume you're talking about Central America and South America. So what I want to know is, why do people in other countries, by your logic, have an innate right to be in the United States? So right now we're talking about the issue of borders. Mm-hmm. What is the right of somebody in another country to be in the United States? And I'll just throw in a little fact. Mm-hmm. Recently, with this whole child separation issue, which of course is something that nobody likes, not even people on the right, mm-hmm. and which is why Donald Trump had to sign the executive order to supposedly stop the family separation, mm-hmm. Because nobody likes that. Cases of asylum, requests of asylum, have been going up by at least like 1,700% or some insane number. Mm-hmm. Do you think that this is true? That this enormous increase in requests for asylum is actually legit, or do you think people are trying to kind of maneuver the system? Realistically speaking, what do you think?
I think there's a little bit of both, honestly. I mean, one of the things is that I'm a pragmatist, and I understand that there are abusers of the system. There are people who want a better economy, better personal economy for themselves. So you're absolutely right. I don't have a proof for this, but I think you're right when you say that some people are coming in to abuse the system. That's definitely so. You also ask, is there an innate right for people in, let's say, Central America or South America to somehow come here to the United States? They have the same innate right from the original immigrants that came here. My thing is this: I don't have a problem with those people who want strong borders, those people who want borders as impenetrable as they can get them. I don't agree with that. I'll be straight, I am for open borders as long as everybody is registered. That said, for those people who want good border control, I will support you. Now, for those people who are smart enough and able to get around those borders and still come in, I want a process to allow that in, because to me, it shows that they're quite ingenious. And the fact that we were created on a sin of immigration, then I am saying I am not going to discount that from my brothers and sisters from the south of the border or my brothers and sisters from elsewhere.
Gotcha.
Well, but okay, sorry. Go ahead. Yeah. Go ahead.
We'll get to all this. I promise. So why has the issue of immigration rocketed to the forefront of political debates and is now a defining fault in our political ideology? In the 2008 presidential race, immigration ranked as low as 14th of most important issues on the campaign. So, Esteban, do you want to answer that real quick?
Absolutely. So, well, for one, there's no doubt, and this is a very unpopular point of view from the right, but I think, well, okay, there's a couple things, but one is the changing demographics. So there's no doubt that some people in the conservative base feel that they're being replaced by all the attention in politics, all the mainstream attention in politics, especially starting in 2014, 15, and 16, has been on minorities, has been on Black Lives Matter, has been on the refugee crisis, has all the political emphasis on basically any group of people has been on so-called minorities, right? So what many white people that have done, they feel disenfranchised by politicians. So when you have somebody like Donald Trump that says not that he's for white people necessarily, but that he's for America, not for these refugees from other countries, or that he wants open borders or anything like that, but that he strikes these very patriotic tunes. I think that resonated with a lot of people. Now that's going to be very unpopular with some conservative circles. They'd like to think that Trump's appeal to immigration is purely organic, but you're right in saying that wasn't necessarily the biggest issue in other times. And now the issue of illegal immigration has seemingly popped up to the forefront. So Donald Trump has something to do with it, but I also think that it has to do with the left emphasizing that white people are racist, emphasizing that white people have committed genocide, and all the social justice movement that has also helped to perpetuate a reactionary movement on the right, that has seemed to be unwelcoming of immigration. So that's my take on it.
I think, first of all, I am happy that you kind of took the position that there is a white dynamic here. Look, Trump, I think, is doing the very, very smart thing here. I think Trump is right when he says that immigration is going to be a big issue in the election. I think Trump is right that it hits a particular chord. It's a carnal issue. When people, as Esteban clearly said, the fact that the country is browning, meaning that white people are not going to be this great majority anymore, it gives people some angst. They think, many white people, I think, believe that they are losing, or that they are possibly going to lose something. What I preach in my shows, etc., is they're going to lose something they never had. The problem is not between whites and blacks or whites and Latinos and all these other types of issues. The problems are between classes. In other words, 1% and the rest. Everything else that we have here are side issues that are brought on to get people taking their eyes off of the ball. So what Trump is doing is Trump made immigration an issue by lying. Here's the facts. We have a net or near net negative immigration, meaning there are more people leaving than coming. What we do have is a lot of refugees coming from countries where there is massive violence and massive problems. There's a difference here. America has more than enough room. In fact, we have a shortage of labor that can easily absorb these people. We have other issues with wages that have nothing to do with the amount of folks that are in the country, but more to do with laws and plutocracy and these other issues. I tell you one thing that I want to put out here before I move on, because I think I've addressed the issue on immigration. Trump is smart. He's playing on white fear. That's what he's playing on. Guys like me on the liberal left, on the not liberal but progressive left, I'm one of the few that's trying to do one thing: bring those folks on the right that are fearful because of what the plutocracy is telling them to be fearful of. Bring them together and remember we're in the same boat. I have a phrase I use on my shows called, whenever we unite, the ghettos, the barrios, and Appalachia. And what that means is whenever we start to show that middle class and poor white people, middle class and poor black people, middle class and poor Latinos, and everybody else in between are really the ones in the same boat and everything else are externalities, we will do better. But we have an industry that preaches divide.
Okay. So I have a response. I think so. Just the important emphasis of my position, I think that we should make sure to take into account is, yes, there is a white element, but the only reason that that's an element is because it's a reaction to the progressive movement that seems to emphasize the interests of the so-called interests of white people. Go ahead.
I'm so sorry I forgot to mention to address that, Esteban.
Right.
And the reason I wanted to address that is we need Americans, all Americans, to be more empathetic. There is an issue that progressives have with pushing the racial issue, and that a whole lot more people are racist than you would believe. The truth of the matter is a larger percentage of white people are more racist than we would have imagined. Okay, and secondly, the statistics, and I don't even want to go into statistics, but as a black man myself, the fact that whenever I am in the presence of police officers, as an educated business owner, blogger, radio show host, and all the works, that I still get my heart in my throat around the law. When we look at the jails, the mere fact that we can statistically look at the same people committing the same crimes, getting different sentences. The mere fact that we can actually see that in my community is an upper middle class white community where people have the income to do a lot of drugs, and they do. And very few people here pay the price for the drug use they use, even when they're caught. And across the railroads, the same does not apply. It tells you that there is a racial issue that the right has.
Okay, so let me just point something out. You said that there are a surprising amount of racists on the white racists on the right. According to a Rasmussen poll that was conducted in 2013, blacks actually view themselves as more racist than both Hispanics and whites. And most Americans, 37% of Americans think that most black Americans are racist. So it does seem to be that black people also within themselves think they are racist. And so it's not just a one-sided issue is what I'm saying. It's
Actually,
not just
that. Because there's a time that people used to, or not a time. In fact, the black intelligentsia and a lot of the progressive intelligentsia would would say you can't be racist if you're anything but white. I don't abide by that belief. Oh, I'm sorry.
Glad. Most of the animosity that's going on with immigration, with regard to immigration, and Trump capitalized upon this as a cultural issue, is the Democrat politics, the progressive movement that seems to demonize white people, and white people seem to have this pushback reaction. So this is what they felt, and Trump kind of tapped into this. Again, this is a pretty small percentage of Americans in total that think this, but keep in mind that most Americans do have these attitudes of immigration, that they do want borders, and they do believe that migration, as a general rule, does affect communities, especially on an economic level. And there are some studies that actually show that some immigration is bad. Even people in 2006, so from Pew Research in 2006, both white and black people had concerns and reservations about the impact of immigration on jobs. So 65% of whites believe that immigrants take jobs that Americans don't want, and 53% of blacks agree with that. But people also believe that there are plenty of jobs available are difficult to find. And again, there are concerns about immigration. There are concerns that are both held in the black communities and in white communities. But I think that Trump tapped into these in such a way that it just the perfect timing as well, because it was right amidst the culture war that was going on. And that's why this was so important. Also, we also have studies here. There's the National Academies of Sciences published a 495-page analysis and came up with 22 results. And 18 out of these 22 results indicated that immigration has reduced wages of some U.S.-born workers. And 4 of those results indicated that immigration has increased those wages. So far there are mixed results, but many studies do conclude that wages are affected by the influx of immigration. And you might say, well, people should have legitimate grievances on these issues. And when Trump goes out and he says, they're taking our jobs, that I can tell you, believe me, people start to resonate on that a little bit. So
that's a problem. I can't disagree with what the numbers, and also I think from just an intellectual point of view, if you have more people chasing less jobs, the wages fall, supply and demand. So I mean, there's absolutely I have no issues with that, and that is not the issue at all. Now the issue about it is, why aren't there enough jobs? There are various ways for us to create jobs. We choose as a country, because of ideology, not to do it. But I can tell you one thing: when we stopped bringing in a lot of our immigrants, a lot of peaches in Georgia remained on the ground. The farmers in South Texas decided that, oh my God, we supported Trump and now we can't farm our lands. So I mean, there are some real real issues with immigration that are solvable. But that's not the modal. That's not what Trump is doing. Trump is using the immigration issue as a wedge. And you pointed out something that is very important. White people, black people, even Latinos believe that illegal immigration can affect their personal economy. And if they are made to believe it affects their personal economy, it will be a winning issue. And that's why, as people started talking about, he did it when he separated the children from their parents and all of that, what the pundits on MSNBC and all these other people fail to realize is Americans are of two minds. They don't want family hurt, but they also don't want their own family hurt. And if Trump makes the case that these immigrants will hurt their families, it's game over. So I have a much different tact in which we should talk about immigration. And the thing about it is, we're not doing it neither on the left or on the right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's a great point. You guys took away my transition. there's one of the things that makes immigration so interesting is all the factors that are wrapped into it. So you guys already touched upon the economy, but I want to also ask about national security. And that is, do you think immigrants are a threat to American safety or pose no greater threat than the average American? And we'll go to you, Esteban. You want to start off?
Well, the overwhelming amount of research suggests that legal immigrants commit far less crime rather, than native-born citizens. So the facts remain that legal immigrants certainly have a better track record than even American citizens do with regard to crime. That is not necessarily the same for illegal immigration. So right now, illegals, and these are Fox News reported these numbers, and they were confirmed by the Daily Wire. So yes, they are conservative leaning, but it's still worth sharing these numbers. Hey, at least I'm acknowledging the bias here. But again, these haven't been disproven as of what I know. 13.6% of those sentenced for all committed crimes in the country are illegal immigrants. 12% of murder sentences and 16% of trafficking sentences. Also, I suspect. Also, it says here, according to the Daily Wire, almost 50% of federal crimes were committed near the Mexico border, and this is a report from the Department of Justice in 2014. So there is a good amount of evidence to suggest that border security directly correlates with the amount of crime that illegal immigrants commit. Both in murder, trafficking, and I suspect drugs are a very, very significant problem that are going down in our border. And we can argue day and night about drug policy later, but as of right now, illegal immigration is causing us a lot of crime. So legal immigrants are way well behaved compared to the average American, but illegal immigrants seem to be causing a disproportionate amount of crime. These are just the numbers right here, and I'd like to see if you have any different take on that.
Okay, I didn't do any research on looking up numbers. All I can tell you is what I can only tell you is what's empirical. And the truth of the matter is the logic behind there are two kinds of illegal immigrants. There are those involved in the drug trade, which is crime ridden. And all of those will be murderers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Esteban, you know as well as I do, deep in the heart, that the vast majority of those Latinos coming across the border, they're looking for one thing and one thing, an opportunity to work. Secondly, the fact that we have truly a negative flow across the border of Mexicans and others tells us that more than likely a lot of the folks that are not refugees that are coming over are likely criminals. I mean, because they're in the drug trade. So the problem that I have with what a lot of folks are doing on the right is conflating the issues. America has a drug problem. The United States of America, the people in America love drugs. And the people south of the border are more than happy to fulfill the demand. They're capitalists. Capitalists always seek, the capitalists fulfill where the supply must go. That is by definition. And that's what they're doing. We don't want to get into a drug topic, but you want to solve that problem. It's not by closing borders, it's by legalizing drugs. So, we legalize drugs, a lot of these problems are gone. But here's the issue. The conflation of the criminals that come over because of the drug trade fulfilling a need of the American citizen is completely unfair to the people that are really seeking a better life.
Right, or the people that have legitimate grievances about asylum. So Absolutely. some people truly are being persecuted. And I'll just go ahead and share this. My mom worked in immigration. I technically can't tell you in what way she worked in immigration, but she really did assess many of these cases that are coming through, and she studied immigration law, and but she's gone up really personal with some of these cases. And yeah, there's sometimes where people come in, not even from Mexico. It could be from South America, or it could even be from, say, Poland or Croatia or these other countries, or Armenia. She gets a lot of people from Armenia. And these people genuinely are persecuted, and they do have legitimate claims to asylum here in the United States. And those people, I think we should welcome with open arms. However, this doesn't mean that we need to falter with our standards of having border security. Now, I know you've been pretty upfront about being for the prospect of open borders, Absolutely. but you're willing to respect people who like the idea of border security. So I submit to you that given the evidence of crime and given the evidence of really what is unnecessary mishap, that is an unnecessary chaos that's going down in our southern border, unnecessary lives that are being lost, unnecessary gang-related crime, I think that we have every right as a country to be concerned about this and to call for border security. So with the discussion that we're doing right now, it seems only reasonable, given the statistics, given the crime rates, given everything we know about illegal immigration, that we need border security. Does that mean we build a wall? Not necessarily. I mean, I'm in favor of the Republicans gaining more control over the Congress because, well, I agree with most of what they say. So therefore, a wall might be advantageous for them politically. I don't necessarily think that a wall would solve the problem of illegal immigration wholesale. However, I am in the game of trying to secure the borders and improve the legal immigration process. I think that if we make it a little bit easier to obtain a worker's visa or to come immigrate here legally and have some sort of e-verify system, I think that it would be a lot easier for people to want to come over the border legally rather than illegally. So again, there's both sides to it, but I really think that border security is rightfully a top concern of the American people.
Yeah. Now, for the sake of this, can I just do a quick answer? For the sake of this discussion, I just want to tell you that I do not abide. I will have to do research on those numbers because I'm pretty darn sure they're faulty, but I can't go ahead and make a strong comment on that right now.
I can give you more if you want. No.
Yeah, you can later.
Egberto, I want to continue on that point. I'll give you a chance to respond.
Mm-hmm.
So how can we sign an immigration reform bill into law? Is it possible? If so, how do we do that?
It's not possible under the current Congress. It's actually impossible. And the reason it's impossible is that Trump and his allies are very smart. They want to use the DACA folk. They want to use the children as pawns, as hostages in the way they negotiate immigration. What they're hoping to do is give some concessions on DACA, give some concessions on the children, and in doing so, forcing Congress to sign a bill that reduces the amount of immigrants that we bring into the country, and specifically immigrants of color. Now, here's the interesting thing that we have to take into account. Right now, America has if I'm not mistaken, a large percentage of America is still in negative growth rate. We have a baby boomer population that is increasing dramatically as every day that goes by. America needs people. We need more than 320 million people that we have right now in order for us to maintain a system that takes care of our old. Okay, I mean, I know a lot of folks on the right just believe in self-sufficiency and saving, something that's an impossibility in a plutocratic economy. But the truth of the matter is we need people, and we need people, and we need quite a bit of them sooner than later.
Well, I would argue that our population has been growing. If you look at our population from now versus when Social Security first began, it's boomed out of control, and yet Social Security is set to go bankrupt or completely insolvent by the year 2034, according to. Again, that's why I say according to some sources. But the point is, the ratio when it was first founded, the ratio of beneficiaries to people that were paying in, or rather people that are paying into beneficiaries, was 120 to 1, and now it's barely 2 to 1. So even if the 2034 thing isn't true, it is certainly true that we're running out of money with Social Security. Whether from your side it needs better funding, or from my side we need to be able to find some way to privatize it or to partially privatize it, whatever it is, the truth is that we're running out of money with Social Security. And even someone like Bernie Sanders would admit this.
We have a whole other video on Social Security. But Esteban, do you think it's possible to have immigration reform? And
I think if I'm being,
what does it look like? If you think we can?
Yeah. Well, if I'm being absolutely realistic, I think that the Republicans are going to have to give more concessions to the Democrats because the Democrats know. Here's the thing: if Trump tries to use the DACA kids as a political pawn, that's going to blow up right in his face, because the Democrats are going to say, okay, fine, deport the DACA kids. See what happens. See what they do if you deport the DACA kids. So the Democrats think that's a winning issue for them, and I think in the long term it might be. So I think that Trump can try to use the DACA kids all he wants, but he's not going to get anywhere with them. He's not trying to use the whole separation at the border. He's not trying to use that either as a political pawn, I don't think. I think he's trying to use that more as a deterrent, as said John Kelly. John Kelly called that a deterrent. So what do I believe is most likely to happen with immigration reform? I think that if they provide enough amnesty, if they provide amnesty to like 2.8 million people, which includes the DACA people and includes some other various miscellaneous groups of immigrants, I think that some Democrats would start to come on board and sign for the provision of Trump being able to build his border wall, including moderate Democrats, or as people on the left would say, corporate Democrats like Joe Manchin and others like that. So I honestly think that there is a possibility for comprehensive immigration reform. But I mean, I don't like big laws. I don't like these massive boondoggle laws that, they accomplish about 200 things, and most of which we don't even know about. So I would like smaller laws to get to be passed to fix our immigration system, not comprehensive immigration reform. Although, if anything's going to pass, it's going to be comprehensive immigration reform.
Gotcha. Egberto, do you have any final thoughts?
No, I think Esteban is right that it has to be comprehensive reform that gets passed. I don't see it happening because, again, the will is not there. And right now, each side think immigration can be a winning issue. Unfortunately, only one of them can be right.
Well, if you look at, the left just elected somebody that wants to abolish ICE. So I think that's her name is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez or something like that.
Ocasio-Cortez.
Yes, absolutely. So, the problem with the left is I think they are more out of touch than the right is with the American people. I think that more people, if you polled the American people, this is my intuition. If you polled the American people and you said, would you rather abolish ICE or would you rather build a wall? I think most Americans would be more okay with building a wall than abolishing ICE. So now, yeah.
You're right. You're absolutely right. And that's the whole issue. Now, as far as her contention that we need to abolish ICE, yeah, I would love to abolish ICE. ICE is a symbol of ICE comes across like the slave hunter. If you take a look at the videos of how ICE treats other human beings, it is despicable, and it shows a bad picture of the United States to the rest of the world. So when Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez talks about that, she has an audience. The thing about it is this: one thing that the right is very good at is marketing, and they are so much better than progressives at doing it. One of the things I do with my show with progressives is talk to them about how to speak about your issues, because the progressive issues are the winning issues. The progressive issues, including that of immigration, are the issues that most Americans want. The problem is that the lousiest people to sell progressive issues are progressives. And the best people to sell issues on the right are the guys on the right. They are so good that they are able to sell policies that affect the people that support them.
Absolutely. And you know what? I'll give that one to you 100%. The policies of the left are the winning issues. I disagree with all of them, but I think that they are the winning issues. They convince most people. I mean, if you tell somebody, hey, do you want a living wage? They'll be like, yeah, I want a living wage. Hey, do you want free healthcare? Yeah, I want free healthcare. Hey, do you want to be compassionate and have the government provide welfare programs to those who are struggling? Yeah, of course, I could totally use some help. So, of course, I think that that's the case. But I do not think that the Democrats have that same control over the issue of immigration. I think that that's a particular issue that if the Democrats continue to go left on it, I think they're going to start losing. It's going to start blowing up in their face.
Actually, I think you heard me say that before, Esteban. Yes. I think you're absolutely right about that.
Well, I think that's a great place to end the discussion there on a positive note. I want to thank Egberto and Esteban for sharing their content with Political Storm. Thank you for participating in this discussion. Thank you for watching. And with that, have a great day.